Oh, Sanchez has gone from an almighty flip. He got hit by the wall monster. That's where we see him flipping back onto his wheels. That was an incredible flip.
Definitely going to change everything when it comes to the finishing order of this race. Jeremy Miller, can he recover from that kind of damage? I don't really know if he could, because this is such a aero-dependent track.
Well, see, I don't
He hit
think
the
he
wall,
can
it seemed like he
because
smacked it pretty hard.
he came into the pits immediately after the leader, as now Chambliss comes into the pits. So does the 37 of Swigert. So this could leave Robbie Kennelly into the lead of this race.
I burnt the right front out again. So.
Oh man, keep your chin up because, completely different season. The next race you run is a complete race. And, you never know what can happen race to race. You could find yourself having a stroke of good luck and figuring out exactly how to drive these cars in the future. But before we let you go, man, anyone you want to give a quick shout out to here tonight? But at the moment, it is Brian Bateman. Hello, everyone, and welcome to Season 2 2022 of the Output Racing League. And welcome to the Pocono Raceway for the Gladiator 150. Anticipation is high for this race here tonight. We've got 21 drivers ready to take the green flag for tonight's racing action. You see practice is well and truly underway. On screen right now, we've got Thomas Harmon, John Lozelle and Frank Isaacson just in the background there. Sam Niederhelm as well in the 66. And Sam Niederhelm getting into the fence, coming through the tunnel turn number 2. But we're kicking the season off with the tricky triangle itself. And a lot of drivers are complaining about very tight race cars around here, as the trio decide to come into the pits, and Lozelle got it all wrong. It looks like we're preparing for a pit party, possibly. But as it stands right now, Thomas Harmon is the top of the totem pole of 53.908, with Matt Horton currently P2, just 0.029 behind him. Got Chris Champeau in third, Brian Chambliss fourth, Matt Burgess sitting in fifth with Corey Williamson sixth, John Lozelle seventh, Paul Cox eighth, Brian Puzacami ninth, and TJ Crampton currently sitting in the 10th position. As you can see in the background there, Corey Steinhauser going completely perpendicular to everyone else, as it looks like we're getting ready for a pit party. Someone decided to take the cone with them. There's the 5 of Mark Pentacuff. He's going to be the state trooper of the race. Got Brian Harris just up ahead of him. I got Chambliss and Massier here as well. There's a 3 of Paul Cox. I haven't seen him since midway through last season. Everyone is jockeying for position here in the pit party. No one wants to lead it, and no one wants to be on the inside apparently. Currently looking at 78 of Brian Puzacami. We saw him in action last week. James Watson in the 39. Right, here we go. Everyone's in position for the pit party. And we're off and racing. It's a long run up before we get into the first corner. We got 3 wide. Oh, we got 1 loose. That's the 8 of Brian Harris. And he's gone around off the 2 of Chris Champeau. Got lots of death involved. The 3 of Paul Cox got caught up in that one. Sam Niederhelm went for a slide. He managed to stay out of the drama though. There's an 81 of Corey Williamson. Great to see him on track. 64 of Jonas Marquez. 33 of Matt Horton. He got his engine issue from last week fixed and he's on track tonight. There's a 65 of Corey Steinhauser as well, as Frank Isaacson started disappearing behind him a little bit. Frankie's stuck in the outside line. As they're going to be 3 wide coming out of the tunnel turn number 2. And even on the short chute heading into turn 3 wide. And looks like the 5 of Mark Pentecoff was the one who did not succeed in that little stanza. Hauser just giving a little tap to Frank Isaacson in turn 1. Jonas Marquez is chasing down the tail on Matt Horton. Still side by side behind this little group. Hauser says 8 tyres are better than 4. As now Pizzichemi and Mark Pentecoff get up underneath of Steinhauser. A lot of momentum to be had in that outside lane if you know how to drive it. There's a 13 of Travis Massio, looking good with the Gladiator skin. Just in front of him, this is 21 of Brian Chambliss, running a monster paint scheme tonight. Just behind him, the 2 of Chris Champeau. Well, Steinhauser has gone around. He's taken the 5 of Pentecoff and the 24 of Frank Isaacson with him. Looks like he smacked the wall coming out of turn 2. There's a couple of things that are going to be in play for this race here tonight. We've got the new damage model, which all the drivers will have to deal with. And then we also have the restart zone, which you'll see on the front stretch. This restart zone is marked off using the Geico sponsorship, the blue banners on the inside and the outside walls. Oh, as Brian Pizzichemi went, actually no, it's Thomas Harmon going very deep into turn 2, giving the 13 of Travis Massey a little punt. You see that little blue zone there? That is the restart zone. 3 wide down the front straight they go. And Travis Massey getting the best drive from the outside to the inside. Quite the intense little battle going on here. As the 23, John Lozelle went off to the pits to practice a pit entry. And Travis Massey with a great run out of turn 1. Trying to make the move on Thomas Harmon into turn 2. Just up ahead of them, Matt Burgess and Brian Chambliss. battle between Masia and Harmon continues. In the background there, I think it was Matt Horton going very wide in turn 3. Things just seem to have settled down here for the pit party. But we do have a new person on top of the totem pole, Chris Champeau, currently number 1. He's got a 53.787. P2 is going the way of Brian Chambliss. P3 Thomas Harmon, P4 Matt Horton, P5 Travis Masia. Brian Harris on screen, currently P6. There's a few guys out there who do a little bit more road racing than they do oval racing, running the GT cars. And they've said some positive things about these cars, feeling a lot closer to those kinds of vehicles. It's 3 wide they go again, coming out of turn 1. Travis Masia, Chris Champeau and Thomas Harmon, but Thomas falling back a little bit. And he just about squeezed his nose up there. Travis Masia drops back. Chris Champeau remains on the front of this little group, but here comes Thomas Harmon. And the outside run from Matt Horton. Oh, and Horton caught the wall. Oh, big slide there for Thomas Harmon. Got spooked by John Lozelle, who just came out of the pit. Sounds like someone's engine detonated there. Not sure who that was. As we have just under 10 minutes left in practice. Oh, very deep into turn 2 went the 8 of Brian Harris. As John Lozelle just made a mistake going through the tunnel turn himself. Down in the inside fence. Oh, and Brian Harris bounced off the wall there coming out of turn 3. How's the 9 of Joe Slimer coming out of the pits? Looks like Corey Steinhauser came out of the pits as well. He's just ahead of these guys. As both the 2 and the 38 bounced off the wall coming out of turn 2. Steinhauser being on fresher tyres carried a lot more speed, and I think they were trying to emulate that a little bit. And both of them just overstepping the mark ever so slightly. This is where you'll see the difference between fresher tyres and newer tyres. Steinhauser only on lap 2 of this tyre cycle. And he just caught Matt Burgess like he was standing still. Nice little three-way battle here between Masia, Horton and Harris. So Horton looked like he was experimenting with some ultimate dimensions there for a tick. Oh, Horton got super tight and ended up catching the wall there coming through turn 1. He's going to pull it aside and get some fresh tyres on that automobile. The 24 and the 9 both catch up to the 13 and the 8. Frank Isaacson on screen in 24, Joe Slimer just behind him. Oh! The 13 of Travis Masia and the 24 of Frank Isaacson both slamming the wall coming out of turn 1. Travis decided that he was going to pit at that very moment. Chris Champeau catching up to Matt Burgess. We now have just a balance of 5 minutes left in practice. Still Champeau, Chambers, Harmon, Horton and Masia as your top 5. Looks like this might actually develop into a tasty little battle here in the closing stages of practice. There's about 4 laps left in practice. And about 3.5 minutes. John Lozelle buying his way into this battle as well. Just sending it up the inside of all 3 of them, going through turn 3. Oh, the stricken car of Steinhauser was in the middle of the track. And that is all 3 of them taken out. Burgess, Champo and Harmon, all 3 succumbing to Steinhauser's presence in the middle of the track. The 8 of Brian Harrison, the 24 of Frank Isaacson. And Harris decides he's going to pull it into the pits. Frank currently P7 in the standings. There's Steinhauser and TJ Crampton. Oh, Steinhauser went way too deep, and he's broken his run off. And it looks like he's going to try and continue around to get that thing back into the pits. Nope, he's just going to spin it out. Oh, he does make it to the pit lane. For some reason, iRacing would rather us watch him than the practice going on track. But we are going to go to a quick commercial break. When we come back, we will have the results of qualifying, so make sure you guys stay tuned. More action from the Gladiator 150 here from the Pocono Raceway coming up shortly. Welcome back to the Pocono Raceway for the Gladiator 150 here on the Aussie Sim Commentator channel, Output Racing League Season 2 2022. The grid has been set and Thomas Harmon has come out of it. Actually, no, he hasn't. Brian Chambliss has come out of it with the pole. EJ Crampton has qualified in P2 in the 61. P3 will be the 38 of Thomas Harmon. P4 be the 2 of Chris Champeau. P5 the 33 of Matt Horton. P6 the 64 of Jonas Marquez. P7 the 39 of James Watson. P8 the 3 of Paul Cox. P9 will be the 23 of John Lozelle. P10 being the 24 of Frank Isaacson. P11 is going to be the 12 of Matt Burgess. P12 will be the 101 of Ray Zerkut. P13 will be the 13 of Travis Massia. I missed Mark Pentacuff, who is actually in P12. P13 is Ray Zerkut. P14 is Travis Massia. P15 will be the 8 of Brian Harris. P16, the 9 of Joe Slama. P17 is the 66 of Sam Niederhelm. P18, the 65 of Corey Steinhauser. P19 will be the 78 of Brian Pizzakemi. With P20, the 1 of Brandon Bennett. And P21, the back of the bus, for the 81 of Corey Williamson. The field starts to make their way onto the track for their one and only pace lap. The 21 and the 61 on the front row. And I'm hearing that the 101 of Ray Zerkut may have had an issue with scrutineering post-qualifying. And we will not be seeing him come onto the racing surface for the race. We have 20 cars to take the green flag, of all 21 who were registered to race. Strength of field is a 25.96. Make our way through turn 3. All starts are on green. All restarts are on the leader in the restart box. The pace car is going to make that hard left-hand turn into the pit lane. The Output Racing League for Season 2 2022 is underway, and the 61 of TJ Crampton jumping out to a big lead already. First place into turn number 1 is the 61, TJ Crampton. The 21 of Brian Chambliss trying to hold off the battle from the 2 of Chris Champeau. Not sure if he's going to be able to hold onto it though, as he slips back into third from the pole. Got the 38 of Thomas Harmon trying to take over the 4th position from the 64 of Jonas Marquez. So we're looking at the 23 of John Lozelle at the moment. Back up to the 38 Thomas Harmon. Side by side they go down the front stretch. The 33 of Matt Horton trying to draft with Thomas Harmon, give him a little bit of extra speed to get up there and make the overtake, as the 2 of Chris Champeau goes underneath the TJ Crampton to try and take the lead away here on lap number 2. Coming out of turn one, it looks like he's got the move made for the most part. TJ Crampton pulling back alongside him just before the entry to turn two. Side by side they go. And TJ Crampton using the momentum of that outside line to gain an extra speed boost over the two of Chris Champeau. As now into turn three we go. It's amazing that they can keep this side by side and no one in the fence. The first two laps of this season go the way of TJ Crampton. But how long will he be able to maintain that for us? Going into turn one, the two of Chris Champeau takes the lead with authority. TJ Crampton slipped into P2. Looks like for the most part the front of the pack has settled. Mostly everyone has single filed. Although there is almost a battle there between the 12 of Matt Burgess and the 24 of Frank Isaacson. In fact, they do go side by side here, right up on the tail of John Lozelle on the 23. Oh, and Frank's bounced off the fence. Oh, and that's a big impact to the inside wall for the 12 of Matt Burgess. And I think, unfortunately, Travis Massier nowhere to go on that one as well. He's caught a big chunk of that. And that is going to be our first caution, not only of the race, but of the season. As Travis Massier's car's looking a bit sorry. Let's go check out the replay of what unfolded there. We saw it live. He's just coming out of turn three, and you can tell that Frank is just out of the groove. And he just missed a part of the wall where there's safety barrier as well. He bounces off the wall straight into the 12 of Matt Burgess. That goes all the way down to the inside. He hits the tire bundles, the sand bundles. The end of pit lane. Look at that. The front left is gone on that car. And it spins all the way back out onto the track, into the traffic. 78 got very lucky. The one got very lucky. 65 Steinhauser, extremely lucky not to get a piece of that. 13 of Travis Massier, nowhere to go. Straight into him. And that also ripped off his front bumper and just about ripped off his left front as well. So that is our first caution of the race and our first caution of the season. So we're going to go for a quick commercial break. When we come back, we'll get the order sorted out and we'll get back racing. So make sure you guys stay tuned. Welcome back to the Gladiator 150 here from the Pocono Raceway. And a lot of people pitted under that caution. I had a few people that didn't, one of which being the number 3 Speedway Memes Motorsports car of Paul Cox. Chris Chapo's leading the way with TJ Crampton in P2. Paul Cox sitting in 3rd. Brian Harrison 4th. Got Mark Pentecoff 5th. Joe Slama in P6. Brian Chandler 7th. Jonas Marquez 8th. Thomas Harmon 9th. And Corey Williamson in 10th. Brian Chambers is the first of the pitters. And from my understanding, he's taken right side tyres only. I've got 2 DNS and 1 DNS, so I've got 18 cars left on the track. And this will be the first time that we see the restart zone coming into play. Coming out of turn 3. The pace car is going to make that hard left-hand turn to go into the pits. Chris Champeau will lead the way going into the restart zone. Now, if he goes before the restart zone, he will get a penalty. If TJ goes before Chris does, then he will get a penalty. But we're underway. It looks like everything was all good there on the restart. The 5 of Mark Pentecoff going a little bit slow. It caught out the likes of the Brian Chambliss there and also the 38 Thomas Harmon. 3 wide into turn 1. 64 Jonas Marquez on the extreme outside. Corey Williamson almost getting to the outside of Mark Pentecoff as well. As the front of the pack has mostly simmered down. The 3 of Paul Cox under attack from Brian Harris. But Cox will prevail. .38 Thomas Harmon trying to battle with Brian Chambliss, and he makes that inside line look very easy. Gets the move made and is going to have the drafting help of Jonas Marquez in the 64. And outside line is just so good with the draft though, because everyone's in it. Jonas Marquez trying to get underneath of Joe Salama. Got a 5-way battle here for the 5th position. Somehow, Thomas Harmon has carved his way up into 7th from all that. Brian Chambliss is still on the tail of Joe Salama, who maintained his 5th position. See now the 81 of Corey Williamson battling side by side with Jonas Marquez. Also got the 5 of Mark Pentecoff there, who's trying not to fall down the order too much after restarting pretty up there. Jonas Marquez is under attack from John Lozelle. And John pulls into line. It's now the 33 of Matt Horton trying to battle with the 38 Thomas Harmon, who got to the inside of Joe Salama. This is for 6. Harmon gets it, and Horton follows him through. Now the 81, Corey Williamson trying to get around Slama as well. Slama with the draft in that outside lane. Going to maintain for the moment. He tries to use that outside line to hold on. He just can't quite hold on though. Corey Williamson gets around him. Comes to 23 of John Lazelle now trying to make a move on Jonas Marquez. Just doesn't quite get that move made. But he'll get that done going into turn 3 though. As the seat of 39 of James Watson there as well. And look at the run that Jonas Marquez got on the exit of turn 3. Oh, 66 of Sam Niederhelm caught the wall coming out of turn 3. Battle is definitely on for the minor placings. 24 Frank Isaacson's trying to get around Sam Niederhelm. Steinhauser now trying to battle onto the outside of Frank. Not quite going to get there though. And now he's left himself vulnerable to attack from the 78 of Brian Pizzakemi. Pizzakemi gets around him with ease. And just behind Pizzakemi slots Steinhauser. There's Thomas Harmon. He's still trying to find a way around Matt Horton. Brian Chambliss got around him just before. Now Chambliss trying to chase down Paul Cox. As behind them, the battle ensues between the 81 of Corey Williamson and the 64 of Jonas Marquez. Joe Slama's getting into this battle as well on the outside of Jonas. And just behind them is a battle as well between John Lazelle and James Watson. It's just a little bit of battles everywhere at the minute. Looks like John Lazelle is going to yield to the 39 of James Watson. 64 Jonas Marquez looks to remove all the 5. Mark Pensacough got very loose through the tunnel turn. And he has just lost out on a couple of positions. Lane 2, Sam Niederhelm. Looks like Pensacough now under attack from Steinhauser. Steinhauser takes the outside line. Trying to use the draft to get around him. And he gets there in turn 1. Pensacough getting very tight going through turn 1. Allowed the one of Brennan Bennett to turn under him. Just up ahead of these guys. 23 John Lazelle still battling with James Watson. Trying to take the 11th position. James Watson doing good on the outside line, maintaining position. And Lazelle maintaining to keep himself in front of the 24 of Frank Isaacson, who had a good run going through turn 3 that time. You also see the 78 of Brian Pizzakemi starting to make some moves. Or at least looking like he wants to try and make some moves. Looking with our leaders. The 21 of Brian Chavlis. He's right on the tail of the 3 of Paul Cox. The 33 of Matt Horton and the 38 of Thomas Harmon there as well. See just ahead of them, PJ Crampton and Chris Champeau. Just taking it easy right now in first and second. In the background there, the 78 Brian Pizzicami using up all the available track, trying to get around Frank Isaacson. Now Corey Steinhauser trying to battle on his outside. These guys battling over 14th and 15th. A lot of different lines get used for that tunnel turn number 2. And all of them work in their own little ways. Oh, it's Frank Isaacson big time into the fence coming out turn 3. It made Steinhauser lose all of his momentum. And Pizzicami has gotten around him. Brandon Bennett looking like he's going to get around him as well. And Bennett couldn't quite get up there. He tried. Just ran out of space and time. TJ Crampton has now taken the lead. The battle is on. Paul Cox has been dropped down to P6. The 33 and Matt Horton going all the way out to the fence. I think he caught the fence there a little bit in turn 3. And 2 by 2 our leaders go. Time Chris Champeau was leading at the line. But you see TJ Crampton trying to edge his way in front of Chris Champeau. Couldn't get there this time. And 38 Thomas Harmon ducks in behind the 21 of Brian Chambliss. Chambliss almost second guessing himself there coming through turn 2. As TJ Crampton squeezing his way in front of Thomas Harmon. Says you're not taking this position this time, but now into turn 3 goes Thomas Harmon. Oh, side drafting. A little bit of contact there as well. That ruined all of Crampton's momentum coming out of turn 3. It's like Harmon using lessons that he learnt from watching Casey Kerwin in the Coke Series race here. But this time it did not work out for him as the 21 of Brian Chambliss trying to take the lead away. To the inside of turn 3 he goes. At the line, it's still going to be the 2 of Chris Champeau leading it though. 61, TJ Crampton giving a little bit of a push to the 21. And that has, at the moment, given the advantage to Chambliss. Thomas Harmon right up on the bumper of TJ Crampton now. Harmon pulls to the inside, coming out of turn 2. He's taken over that 3rd position. The battle is still on for the lead. They've been side by side for an entire lap. Coming out of turn 3. It's a drag race. But still Chris Champeau at the line. few battles going on in the background as well. As now the 21 Chambliss battling it out with Thomas Harmon for the second position. Chambliss got tight, just about ran into Thomas, and that has ruined all of his momentum. He's going to drop back to 5th. Thomas Harmon is now up into P2. That's dangerous for the rest of the field, Thomas Harmon being in P2. At 61, TJ Crampton trying to find a way around Thomas Harmon. Thomas Harmon now looking for a way around Chris Champeau. He's going to go to the inside here in turn 2. Chris Champeau still holding strong on the outside. Here comes the 33 of Matt Horton now. And Horton's taken over 3rd. The power move just getting around TJ Crampton. Oh, Crampton got into the fence there a little bit. Now let's just take a moment to listen to these awesome cars as they go around this track. And we're back. Matt Horton trying to look for the lead now on Thomas Harmon as he's taken over the second position from Chris Champeau. So he's top 5, absolutely pulled away from the rest of the field. They have 2 seconds over Paul Cox in P6. Paul Cox similarly has about 2 seconds over John Lozelle in 7th. These 5 right here definitely kept the intensity going for the entire race so far. Let's see what Matt Horton can do. Chris Champeau goes wide into turn 1, opening the door for TJ Crampton. Crampton couldn't quite fill the gap, almost left him vulnerable to Brian Chambliss in the 21. do actually have a funny statistic. We've got all 3 Speedway Memes Motorsports cars on track. It's TJ Crampton, Paul Cox, and Corey Steinhauser. The 5 of Mark Pentacup is in the pits. So he must have copped quite a bit of damage and decided to pit early. As very wide into turn 1 goes the 33 of Matt Horton. That doesn't look like it was a part of the plan. As these guys just lost a lot of time to Thomas Harmon, and them being side by side is only going to make them lose more. As the 2 of Chris Champeau tried to take advantage of Matt Horton going so wide. Now he's under attack from the 61 of TJ Crampton. As we are nearing the halfway mark. Oh, contact between Crampton and Champeau. Champeau just went a little bit too deep into the corner. And now the snaky game's going on down the front stretch. Thomas Harmon's trying to maintain this gap that he's got now from Matt Horton's previous lap's mistake. Chris Champeau actually with the fastest lap of the race so far, a 54.067. They're definitely not doing those lap times right now. In fact, last lap for Chris Champeau was a 56.228. But a halfway point and green flag stops cannot come soon enough for some of these drivers. Order 2 of Chris Champeau looking to the inside, TJ Crampton. Couldn't get there this time. I think Crampton just about hit the wall coming out of turn 1 that time. And it looks like the 66 of Sam Niederholm in the pits. As the 2 of Chris Champeau went a little bit wide going into turn 3. That's opened the door up for the 21 of Brian Chambliss. Also got the 5 of Mark Pentacup in here. He's got fresh tyres. So effectively speaking, he's going 2 seconds a lap faster than our leaders right now. And it looks like he's going to try and clear them around the outside of turn 1. He gets around Chambliss. Couldn't quite get around Champeau. Spooks Chambliss all the way down to the inside of the track. It looks like he just wants to try and get around them while he's got the tyre grip. But these guys are maintaining a good enough pace that he's not able to just fly by them. As we've got a battle brewing in behind. The 3 of Paul Cox, the 23 of John Lozelle, the 78 of Ryan Fitzcampbell, and the 9 of Joe Slama. Paul Cox going very wide into turn 1. That's allowed 23 John Lozelle by Brian Pizzicami trying to take over 7th as well. These 4 battling over the 6th position. Cox prevails, maintains 7th. As now Slama looking to the inside of Pizzicami, not going to quite get there. And John Lozelle, after getting around Paul Cox, just taking off with the advantage. as now we're only 4 laps away from halfway. Go back up to check in on our leaders real quick, as I've hit the wrong button, the button I wanted. Matt Horton has not been able to close this gap to Thomas Harmon. Out to 5/10 of a second. As I said, John Lozelle, after getting around Paul Cox, just opening up this gap. 9/10 of a second over Cox right now. And here comes the 78 of Pizzacami. It would seem that Paul Cox just burnt up his right front faster than everyone else around him here. Through they go. Back up with our front group now. It looks like Mark Fenscuff has just consigned himself to sitting there in the back and watching these guys battle it out. Around the outside of Champo goes Chambliss, and he made that move work really well, as that is now the 21 of Brian Chambliss up into the 4th position. So it looks like to make a move around here, we're either going to have really big brakes or really big balls. As now the 21 of Brian Chambliss trying to look for an outside move around TJ Crampton. Couldn't quite get there in turn number 1. Well, it looks like the 33 Matt Horton slipping up a little bit in turn 2. A little bit wider than everyone else, and that allowed both Crampton and Chambliss to close right in on his tail. Neither of them could do anything about it, as we now reach the halfway point. That's 35 laps down, 35 laps to go for Thomas Harmon. As that gap from first to second starting to come down. Got some cars in the back going into the pits. The 39 of James Watson, the first one to blink. Also got the 8 of Brian Harris. We're going to keep an eye on our front group here, see when they're going to pit though. No takers from the front group this time. Just no takers at all on this lap apparently. Looks like the 5 of Mark Pentecoff just struggling a little bit with his tyres now. He's been on them for about 10 laps. 21 Brian Chambliss gets a good run. The 2 of Chris Champeau is in. Chambliss now battles to the inside of TJ Crampton. Crampton trying to hold him down there a little bit. But it looks like Chambliss is going to prevail in this instance in turn 1. I reckon if Crampton had stayed up in the outside line next to the wall, probably would have been able to maintain his position a little bit better. Behind this group, Brian Harris has appeared as well after making his green flag pit stop. .33 and Matt Horton concedes second to the 21 of Chambliss, and the 61 of Crampton goes into the pits this time. It looks like the 3 of Paul Cox is also in the pits, as well as the 9 of Joe Slama. See the 8 of Brian Harris with his fresher tyres starting to carve his way through the leaders. He got around to 33 of Matt Horton. Now he's trying to get around the outside of Brian Chambliss, who got very loose in turn 1 that time. And Matt Horton's going to allow him back up there in front. That was definitely scary times for the 21 car. As we're about to finish lap number 40, which means there's only going to be 30 laps left to go in this race. The 38 Thomas Harmon did let Brian Harris go. And did it without losing too much time to Chambliss. Chambliss has actually pulled away from Matt Horton here, as John Lozelle has gone into the pits. He's also got Corey Steinhauser in the pits. Now it looks like a few of these guys is just going to go to the limit of their gas tanks and then come in. As Lozelle comes out behind our leaders. The 1 of Brandon Bennett has gone to the pits. He'll mostly be trying to overcut from Steinhauser by the looks of things. As this time in comes the 38 and the 21 and the 33. Oh, Horton very deep into the pit lane. Let's hope there's no penalty there. And this will de facto give the lead to the 78 Pizzacemi, who's coming to the pits. And there's the 24 Frank Isaacson and the 64 Jonas Marquez, and both of them are pitting as well. Got the 81 of Corey Williamson. And he's going to stay out for another lap. He must just about be on fumes, because he's got the 2 of Chris Champeau and the 61 of TJ Crampton behind him. Now will Corey Williamson get leader lap points? The answer is no. The 2 of Chris Champeau gets around him. So too does the 61 of TJ Crampton. As now the 81 of Corey Williamson goes into the pits. And Matt Horton is going to go a lap down. He's just come out of the pits now. He's gone a lap down on the field. So not a good pit stop there for the 33 car. That means that your current order is Chris Champeau, TJ Crampton, Thomas Harmon, Brian Chambliss, James Watson as your top 10. Got Joe Slama in 6th with Paul Cox 7th. Brian Harris, Brian Pizzacemi, and John Lozelle wrapping up your top 10. Mark Pentacuff currently holding on to 11th. Got Corey Steinhauser 12th, Brandon Bennett 13th, Frank Isaacson 14th, Jonas Marquez 15th, Corey Williamson P16, Matt Horton, the only car, 1 lap down in 17th. That's Sam Niederhelm, Travis Massia, and Matt Burgess DNFing, with Ray Zercut DNSing. So we're going to take this advantage to go to another commercial break. When we come back, we're going to the checkered flag, so make sure you guys stay tuned. Welcome back to the Pocono Raceway and the Gladiator 150 here on the Aussie Sim Commentator channel for the Airport Racing League Season 2 2022. And leading the way is still the 2 of Chris Champeau from the 61 of TJ Crampton. Matt Horton 1.5 seconds behind these guys at 1 lap down. Thomas Harmon sitting in third, 5.3 seconds back. And it looks like we've got a little bit of a battle going on here between Joe Slama and James Watson. Slama with 3-lap fresher tyres than James Watson. And it looks like he made that move easy on the front stretch. He's going to start pulling away from Watson now. Paul Cox there in the background, 2.5 seconds back from these guys. Brian Pizzacemi sitting in 8th as well. But back up with our leaders, the 2 of Chris Champeau and the 61 of TJ Crampton. And Matt Horton's closed 4 tenths in on them. They're 1.1 back off the lead now. I'm not sure if Thomas Harmon will be able to close in 5 seconds on these guys unless disaster strikes. Or just a little bit of misfortune. In fact, about 2.5 seconds back from Thomas Harmon is the 21 of Brian Chambliss. They both pitted on the same lap, so Chambliss had a little bit of trouble either on his outlap or in the pits as well. The 5 of Mark Pentecoff has pitted again. Promotes Corey Steinhauser up into 11th. And Matt Horton could be a real thorn in the side of these two. He's got 4-lap fresher tyres. And he could pass him in a really bad spot as the 61 of TJ Crampton looks to the inside of Chris Champeau in turn 3. The battle for the lead on your screen. Minus the 33 of Matt Horton. He's just there as a detergent. He's just trying to get back on the lead lap. Oh, as Horton gets very loose in the apron through turn 1. There's Thomas Harmon looming in the background. He's only 4 seconds back now with 21 laps to go. And this time TJ Crampton on the inside in turn 2. Turn 3, sorry. Oh, he caught the ripple stripper there a little bit. Couldn't maintain his speed, got a little bit out of sorts. The best thing he could do right now is side draft a little bit to maintain his position on the inside of Champeau. That's exactly what he did. Chris Champeau is no fool. He uses that momentum in the outside lane to maintain position for the moment. TJ Crampton having to concede and fall back into line. Words are hard. Crampton trying to go for a slow and fast out approach to turn 3 right now. And it seemed to work for him. Got a pretty good run here on the front stretch this time. Matt Horton getting in behind him to give him a little bit of a shove into turn 1. I think Crampton had Champeau just a little bit clear there. Couldn't maintain it. Champeau fighting back on the outside line. But in turn 2, it's all over for Champeau, and TJ Crampton now leads the way. .33 Matt Horton says, all right, now that you guys have had your squabble for the lead, I'm going to try and get around yous. Crampton going all the way down to the inside of the track to try and break the draft to Chris Champeau. The smart money would have been on giving Matt Horton the draft to get in between himself and Chris. And Thomas Harmon's just 2.5 seconds back now. Looming ever closer, that battle that Crampton and Champeau had definitely slowed them both up a little bit. As Matt Horton gets a decent run going through turn 2. They couldn't get around Champeau that time. Harmon and Chambliss with some of the fresher tyres that can be seen on track at the moment. And they're definitely closing this gap. Last lap for Crampton was a 56.9, a 56.7 for Champeau, and a 56.1 for Harmon. Although if you ask me, I don't think that sounds right, so maybe my head-to-head graphic is wrong. Yeah, it's not actually showing me last lap times there. Matt Horton still desperately trying to find his way around Chris Champeau. He desperately wants to try and get his lap back. Thomas Harmon just 1.9 seconds back from these guys now, and it's 3.7 seconds between Champeau and Chambliss. There's a battle between Paul Cox and James Watson right now. These guys battling over the 6th position. Paul Cox on the inside going into turn 2. Oh, and Watson went very wide. Had to get out of the gas a lot. That's an easy position made for Paul Cox. He's now up into the 6th position. As we go back up to our leaders, and Matt Horton has gotten himself out of being a lap down. Now he's going to try and concentrate on pulling away from these guys a little bit, if he can. TJ Crampton trying to stay in his draft to pull away from Chris Champeau. Got the entire field a little bit spread out right now. So here's TJ Crampton and Chris Champeau. We'll go back to the 38 of Thomas Harmon. There's the 21 of Brian Chambliss. Got the 9 of Joe Salamo still on the front stretch. 3 of Paul Cox. The 78 of Brian Pizzakemi's joined this battle. He's taken over 7th from James Watson. Got the 23 of John Lozelle. He's got Brian Harris just behind him. The 65 of Corey Steinhauser. He's battling with Brandon Bennett. Got the 24 of Frank Isaacson. There's Jonas Marquez just behind. Mark Pentecoff, who's a lap down just ahead of these guys. Got the 81 of Corey Williamson. And just in front of the leaders, the 33 of Matt Horton. Now it's just 1.5 seconds separating Crampton from Harmon. Crampton trying to break the draft again. And it worked. He got 2/10 on Champeau that time. So Champeau might be just trying to cool out his tyres here a little bit, so he can fight later in the run. Doesn't want to do anything drastic like dodging around the track, trying to maintain the draft. Oh, Crampton just followed Horton into the fence, going through turn 2. No, that was the exit of turn 1. Crampton might have a little bit of damage on the 61 car right now. Thomas Harmon well and truly in draft range now. He's only 7/10 back from Chris Champeau. That's just 1.8 seconds back behind Harmon to Chambliss. I wouldn't trust the behind time as you see it on the ticker across the top of the screen. That doesn't show the true gap. But it's definitely not 1.5 seconds between Crampton and Champeau. It's only about 0.2 of a second. Just like Corey Steinhauser is definitely not 5 minutes back off the lead. And here comes Thomas Harmon now, trying to make the move on Chris Champeau with 10 to go. To the inside in turn 1, makes the move stick very quickly. And he's immediately onto the tail of TJ Crampton. As we said, we believe Crampton is carrying a little bit of damage. Oh, the big blocks and the sideways punt. That was almost disaster for TJ Crampton, as he just rubbed up against the wall once more coming out of turn 2. To the inside, Harmon goes in turn 3 now. And it's a drag race on the front stretch. Oh, the doors are coming into it. Intense battling here between Crampton and Harmon. Harmon gets the position going into turn 1. Crampton was all over his bumper though going into the corner. Maybe just giving him a little bit of a shot to say, hey, I don't really appreciate that too much. Thomas Harmon now leading the way and pulling away from TJ Crampton and Chris Champeau. So I suspect that the battle is still going to rage on here between the 61 and the 2. They've also got to keep an eye out because just 1.5 seconds back is Brian Chambliss. And he is just looming there in the background. Another thing some of these teams are going to have to worry about is if they didn't completely get their tanks full, how close are they to making it? There's some people when they pit they just get the full tank. Some people like to experiment with lower fuel levels. Yeah, in an attempt to try and make the cars a little bit lighter for the last run. As Thomas Harmon already out to a 1/2 second lead over Crampton. As now into turn 1, goes to 2 of Chris Champeau. Oh, and into the fence again goes TJ Crampton. Definitely not going to help the handling on his car. And here comes Brian Chambliss. He's now only 7/10 back from the pair. Side by side through turn 2 they go. Crampton with a great run through turn 2 that time, maintaining second on the outside. But just half a second back is Brian Chambliss and closing. What was that time? Chris Champeau caught the fence coming out of turn 3. This is where all the pressure stations are right now. Oh, there's Matt Horton all the way down on the inside of the track, letting Thomas Harmon go. He's going to go back to being a lap down. I think might have had a run-in with the inside wall there. There's now Chambliss all over the tail of Chris Champeau. Going into turn 3, couldn't get the move made this time. Takes a slightly different line to Chris Champeau. A little bit of a later apex for the 21 of Chambliss. 5 laps left in this race. We have a 3-way battle for second. See Chris Champeau looking to the inside, coming into turn 2. Crampton just holding on with the outside line momentum. But what can he do in turn 3? Oh, there's a touch. Just one touch. All it takes. But Crampton's going to hold on to it. And he's even getting pushed from the 21 of Chambliss. Chambliss trying to take over third from Champeau. He's going to get there coming out of turn 1 using the draft to his advantage. But Champeau is still going to try and take back third. Not sure if he's going to be able to do it though. The momentum on the outside of turn 2 that you can get is immense. And Chambliss now clean and clear up into third. Just going to be 3 laps left to go at the line. Thomas Harmon is 2 seconds in the lead. Chambliss now looking for a way around Crampton. Crampton got a little bit defensive there, not quite defensive enough. Into turn 1. Chambliss made that move stick very early, made it look really easy. As now they're on the tail of the lap down car of Matt Horton. Matt Horton running up near the fence in turn 2. Just trying to stay out of the way as much as he can. As Brian Chambliss now starts to pull away from Crampton and Champeau. It's now just 2 laps to go for the 38 of Thomas Harmon. Bit of battle going on there in the background. But Thomas, with nothing to fear, he's got no lap traffic ahead of him. He's just got all the clear track, all the clear air that he could want. And he has a 2-second lead over Brian Chambliss. He's going through turn 2 for the penultimate time. Last lap was a 55.880. Coming out of turn 3, it's going to be white flag last lap, last chance to win it or wear it for Thomas Harmon. Oh, big block being thrown there in the background. The battle is still on for third. To the inside goes the 2 of Chris Champeau. This battle just keeps intensifying as the race has gone on. Who's going to get it coming out of turn 2? Chris Champeau with the advantage. TJ Crampton taking the advantage back on the outside of turn 2. With the momentum, has the run. But the 2 of Chris Champeau using the side draft. Going through turn 3, Chris Champeau just with his nose ahead. Gonna go back to look at our leader as side by side these guys go. But Thomas Harmon wins the race. Oh, Chris Champeau just snakes second away from TJ Crampton. Sorry, third. Second goes to Brian Chambliss. Third, Chris Champeau. Fourth, TJ Crampton. I think the 78 Brian Pizzicami comes home in 5th. Now we're just going to wait for Thomas Harmon to make his way back around to the start-finish line. He's got some celebrating to do. The first winner here, Season 2, 2022 in the Output Racing League. He does it at the Gladiator 150 here at the Pocono Raceway. But here we go now, time for victory burnouts. And with that, we're going to go to a commercial break. When we come back, we'll have driver interviews, so make sure you guys stay tuned. And it's time now for our Hard Charger Award winner. And our Hard Charger for week number 1 of Season 2 2022 is going to be none other than the 8 car. As soon as I get the right shit going, the 8 car of Mr. Brian Harris. Brian, you started in 15th and you finished in 10th here, so you got the Hard Charger Award. First of all, how do you feel coming into a brand new season and immediately taking out Hard Charger honors?
Starting it off actually pretty good. I wasn't expecting to get the hard charger. Didn't have a really good qualifying, but the car was great in practice. I figured I can get a top 10 out of it, but taking damage early on around lap 25 or 30, I kind of figured it was going to be a bit of a battle from there.
It was definitely not the typical Pocono race because we did only have the one caution, but it was fairly early. Did that caution period affect things for you at the start of the race, or was it just pretty much status quo for Pocono for us?
No, I felt like it was pretty much status quo. Once the caution came out, I just kept to the game plan that the team put forward. With it being an early caution like it was, just stay out and run it as long as I could before we had to pit.
Now, I noticed towards the end there that Corey Steinhauser started catching you a little bit. The gap went from out from 4 seconds down to 2 point something there towards the end. Were you worried that he was going to catch you in those ending laps?
No, they told me to just keep my head down, keep pushing. I knew you were closing in. The tires were pretty much worn. I pit about 6 laps before everybody else, so I just tried to keep it on the track, keep it moving. I had a little bit of consistency issues there at the end, so I knew you were catching up to me. He was catching up to me pretty well. I was just hoping to stay ahead of him at the end.
All right, now let's look forward towards next week. Next week we're going to be going to Chicagoland. So what's the feeling like for you as we head into Chicago week?
Chicago's a fun track. It can be a little difficult. Haven't had a chance to get the car out on track for testing or anything there yet. I'm looking forward to it though. I think it's going to be some fun racing, just like it was today.
All right, Brian, before we let you go here tonight, anyone you want to give a quick shout out to?
Yeah, I'd like to give a shout out to ORL for putting this group together again, like you guys do every season. Thank you for Pampered Dampers and Blue Chew for putting a good car together for me, and thank you guys for doing the broadcasting.
All right, well, thank you very much for coming out, Brian. Congratulations on taking out the first Hard Charger Award for the season. Look forward to seeing what you can do next week when we head to Chicago.
Thank you.
All right, guys, that was our Hard Charger Award winner for today, Mr. Brian Harris. Coming up next, we're going to have our third place getter. And today's third place goes to the one and only Mr. Chris Champo. Chris, third place to kick the season off and the fastest lap as well. Not a bad way to kick off the brand new season here for Output.
Yeah, I'm pretty stoked. I thought we were taking fourth there for a second, and TJ and I had a nice little last lap battle that I really didn't think I could win on the inside, but he just got super tight, almost took it into the wall, and had to bail out of it, and it was just enough for me to edge by.
Now, it definitely looked like one of those more tire saving kind of races. How roasted was your right front by the end of that race?
It wasn't too bad. I think I had 73% on the front right. I had max brake bias all the way to the back. Uh, and I was still trying to, back up my corners as best I could while still keeping with everybody. Um, but if I could get a little bit more out of the rear, it would have been great, and then it probably would have turned a little bit better. But that's all right. It wasn't too bad. In hindsight, if I had pit maybe 2 laps later, 3 laps later, maybe I could have been a little bit more positioned correctly. But I think for me that seemed like the right strategy at the time.
All right, now let's look forward towards next week's Chris. We're going to be going to the Chicagoland Speedway. What's the feeling like for you heading into one of the more notorious mile and a half tracks?
I guess we'll see. I don't drive this car as much as some of the other vehicles, so I don't really know how it performs at Chicago or any of the mile and a halves, really. Um, so I'll maybe have to get some practice in and just see what it does. I'm guessing it will be a tire saving sort of race, like most mile and a halves are nowadays. So we'll see.
All right, Chris, before we let you go here tonight, anyone you want to give a quick shout out to?
Yeah, shout out to Thomas. I gave him a real good whack in the ass at turn one about lap 30 or something like that, and thankfully we both saved it.
All right, well, thank you very much for coming out, Chris. Congratulations on taking home third here for the first race of the season. We look forward to seeing what you can do next week when we head to Chicago.
Yeah, it should be fun.
All right, guys, how's our third place getter here tonight? The one, the only, the Chris Champo. Sorry. Coming up next, we're going to have our second place getter. And today's second place goes to the 21 of Mr. Brian Chambliss. Brian, great way to kick off the season, coming out of Pocono with a P2. First of all, how do you feel?
P2 is good. I think I had a good race going. I felt like I had a ton of speed. I thought, I was had the car set up the way I wanted to move forward, or if I was up front to stay there. But unfortunately, the first restart didn't go as I planned, and I don't know, I guess I was sleeping at the start because I just dropped back to third, but was able to battle back up and then try to battle there for the lead, and they just freight trained me on the outside. So then after that, I was like, well, let's save a little bit of fuel here so I can make sure I can get it to halfway or a little past. That way we could only have to one stop it and not have to worry about fuel at the end. But we had that caution and kind of threw things for a loop. So I decided to just come on in and take two and see how that would work out. And we were still able to move forward there and battle pretty good. And then coming to that pit stop, man, I overshot my box just the tiniest of bit. And that's what gave Thomas the giant lead there. And then it was just trying to run him down and still manage tires. A little short, but able to come back for P2 is it's a good way to kick the season off. So can't really complain too much about P2.
All right, now let's look forward towards next week. We're going to be going to the Chicagoland Speedway. What's it feeling like for you as we head into Illinois for the week?
Yeah, I love that track. It's one of my favorite tracks. I haven't ran it in this car very much, I don't think, and definitely not since the new build has come out. So with these cars, even putting more horsepower and less downforce in the thing. So it'll be interesting, but historically, it doesn't really matter what car is there. I'm pretty good. So hopefully we can come out one spot better next week.
All right, well, thank you very much for coming out, Brian. Congratulations on taking home a P2 here tonight. Look forward to seeing what you can do next week when we go to Chicago.
Yep, appreciate it. We'll see you then.
All right, guys, that was the 21 of Brian Chambliss, today's second place getter. And as you can hear, very happy that he was able to take the second place home. Coming up next, if Discord will let me drag him, we're going to have our winner. Of course, our winner is going to be the 38 of Thomas Harmon. Thomas, another Pocono race. We got through it with only one caution, but it was definitely a bit of a fun race out there.
Yeah, I enjoyed it. It was a little difficult to pass at times, but overall, fun race, especially when you win.
I mean, winning never hurts, especially for the first race of the brand new season. This is going to give you some great momentum as the season's only just kicked off. But how was the race like for you as a whole?
Early run, I was kind of, or early race rather, during that first long run, I was kind of concerned with my fuel. I didn't know, I'd lost track of when we went green, so I was kind of praying that I had enough, especially leading as much as I did and shifting in all the corners. So I know I was burning a lot of fuel. Fortunately, had enough to make it for both to where I needed to be comfortable and to the end of the race.
How close were you at the end on fuel? Because if you're a little bit worried about it, then For most people, they would have run out, but we know that you're not most people. So how actually close were you?
I honestly forgot to look. um, I think I ended up being pretty comfortable because I did get a bit of draft there at the end with Horton and TJ and Chris. So I think that helped out for the fuel. But yeah, I can't give you an exact number because I don't remember.
All right, now let's look forward towards next week, Thomas. We're going to be going to the Chicagoland Speedway. So, what's the feeling like for you as we head into Chicago next week?
I love me some Chicagoland. It's a fun track. We did. I spectated that practice race or the recruitment race that they did here a couple weeks ago, and I decided to do the old test drive on the track with them thing. So I got to see where I was compared to the guys that were there, and I felt pretty good.
All right, Thomas, before we let you go here tonight, anyone you want to give a quick shout out to?
Shout out to you up in the booth, broadcasting it to everybody, all the fans that show up, all the drivers that show up. Had a good sized field tonight. All the league admins and drivers council, and Apple on the car.
All right, well, thank you very much for coming out, Thomas. Congratulations on taking home the first win of the season. We look forward to seeing what you can do next week when we head to Chicago.
Sounds good. I'll see you there. Thanks, sir.
All right, guys, that was today's winner, the 38 car of Mr. Thomas Harmon. That is going to wrap things up here for us at Pocono. Till next week, I've been your commentator, the Aussie Sim commentator, and we'll see you guys in Chicago.